Hello, hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Sharing Wisdom. I'm your host, Angie Wisdom. And today is really, really good, you all. I have a friend and a guest on the episode, Maurice Philogene. And if you know me, you've probably heard me talk about him before and tell you to follow him because he's just a fun guy to watch, for one. And man, does he love to work and live and go. Yeah. He is on the go and doing more things than anyone else I've ever seen. So Maurice, thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure.
I was joking with you before we started this podcast that I thought I might be doing it from you on an airplane in your pod there, as I saw you were just traveling yesterday.
I was. I'm all over the place right now. So when you saw that on Instagram, I was flying from Cyprus back to DC to pick up my 10-year-old. I'm here for 48 hours and I'm picking him up. And now we're flying tomorrow to Lebanon, and then we'll be there for a week. And then we'll go to Cyprus and we'll be there for like 4 days and then hustle back for school.
Amazing. I know that is a big thing for you, is like traveling and living life. And I can't recall, like, how many countries have you been to?
I'm on 90. I'm on 98 countries, but I think it's like 350 times now because I go back to the same countries a lot at this point.
That's unbelievable. Talk about really living and doing what you want to do. I mean, that's the basis of your whole philosophy, and we'll get more into that. But it started from somewhere. So, I mean, let's let people in on that. You started at a young age, really kind of having this concept of financial freedom, time freedom, and knowing that you definitely didn't want to sit at the 9-to-5 job in an office.
Yeah, no. And of course, try life on and the freedom principles: time, financial, geographic freedom, freedom to execute your purpose, freedom to build meaningful relationships. I mean, I'm speaking about it in reflection now, right? I didn't know what was happening with me when I started my journey, but there were two catalytic things that kind of formed me as the 48-year-old man that I am now. The first one was my father sent me to hang out with an exchange student from Paris with his family because he stayed at my crib the previous summer. So this was 1990. I was 15 years old. And his father proceeded to drive us around the country for 30 days in an old stick-shift Range Rover. And for inner city, brother from Boston who's a Haitian kid, like, it just changed my life. French, I'm a French speaker because we're Haitian anyway. But, all I knew was inner city Boston. So this was a different thing. Girls, wine, castles. It was so good. I wrote a journal as a 15-year-old and I had never written a journal before. And I still have it, which is crazy. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What were you journaling about?
Angie, I don't know why I was journaling this way, but I was writing things like, I think God forgot to tell me that life could feel like this. I don't understand why people die. Because I went to a funeral. I went to my first funeral. I get that the world is bigger than Boston now. I think I'm in love with this girl. Like, I met this girl and stuff. I think I'm in love with this girl. Is this what it feels like? Like, it was very interesting for me as a 15-year-old to do that. The second catalytic thing was when I was 21, I found Personal Finance for Dummies, the book. And I found the passage Passive Income. So check it out. Here's how I connected the dots between money and freedom and life. That money powers life. It's not life. It powers life. It's like passive income. So if I can create passive income, that means it's divorced of a need to physically be somewhere to make that money, which means I can create time. And if I can create time, I can give myself space to go back and have all those experiences I did when I was 15. Hence, I never stopped traveling because I wanted more of that, more of constant learning, more of interacting with good people, more of learning languages, more of learning more about what the world had to offer inside the U.S. and outside the U.S. So that's kind of how that all started.
I mean, what a crazy blessing that you had all this awareness at such a young age. And my gosh, asking yourself such introspective questions at that age, you clearly, were very curious and intentional about what you wanted, even at that young age. And you bring up kind of the passive income piece, and it's interesting when people come on to my podcast and they've done a lot in real estate, it's almost like that's the focus of them, and it's like, I've created this passive income and look at the wealth I've built and all that. But you do that, but it is like, I don't even want to introduce you as that, because you're really this guy who tries life on, who lives life to the fullest. Yeah. Like what you've done in the real estate industry and the investing in the passive income has all kind of been what's powering the life that you're living.
Totally. I don't like it when people say, hey, this is a real estate investor. His name is Maurice.
Right.
In the same vein, I don't like it when people say, hey, this is a police officer or this is a federal agent and his name is Maurice. No, my name is Maurice Philogene. My parents' name was Jean and Krista Philogene from Haiti. I happen to be a real estate investor, police officer, federal agent, traveled to all those countries, built a private investment firm, a dad of two. Like these things are not life to me. They are experiences and opportunities for growth. I never wanted to, like, I just said all those things and there's more. Like I was an executive for a consulting firm for 25 years, right? And this was all at the same time. I opened a couple restaurants and owned a club, and it was just an interesting journey. And what I tell people is I was never trying to do everything. That's not what I was doing. What I was trying to do was like fill my life book with experiences and surround myself with people who knew more than me. And because they knew more than me and I was inquisitive to what they were doing and would find a way to support their goals, there's a Try Life On principle we call with it. What's in it for them? I'm always trying to figure out what's in it for the person that I'm spending time with. How can I help that person? Because if I can help them, chances are they will help me in some way, but that's not necessarily the goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, all these things, especially real estate and passive income, it was just so I could go live life my way, doing what I want, when I want, how I want, AKA being on planes all the time and finding ways to make extraordinary ordinary.
Yeah. And I mean, you've done a really good job at it. It's literally why I tell people to follow you. Oftentimes clients or the people will be like, you got to follow this guy just to see kind of how he's living his life. Because I think that's a big question that people are trying to figure out all the time is they're like, well, I don't know what I want in life. It's not supposed to be this. I'm not supposed to wake up to do my work and to go back to bed and do this all over again every single day. Like there has to be something more, but it's a hard question for people to answer. How do you get there?
It's a really hard question for people to answer, but here's the way that I do it now formally. So, so that journey, my 26 year professional journey. So I'm 48 now, but I exited the W-2 world, corporate world when I was 46, 2 years ago. I stayed in the corporate world for 25 years. Like I really enjoyed it. It's just that I was doing real estate as a side hustle the whole time. I turned down being a partner because I didn't want to spend the extra 30 hours a week chasing a title. It made no sense for me because I knew I was building financial capacity on the outside. But when I talk to people now about my journey and they started asking me to coach them. And I said, coach you on what? On hang on one second. I asked them, they would ask me to coach them. I said, coach them on what? And they would say lifestyle design. I didn't even know what it was. But I knew that I had created this life for myself. So now the way that I do it with people is I say, okay, well, then what is your perfect day? Because adults have forgotten how to dream. We lost it. We used to be creative. We used to be dreamers. We would, in kindergarten and first grade, we would throw paint on the walls. We would eat glue. We would run out in the woods and we would kick rocks over and we would look at bugs under things and we would climb the fence of our neighbor's yard. And we were always mobile. We were constantly learning. And I think what happens is in formal education, now I'm not getting on education itself. We need to be educated, but formal education, the way the system works, we start to move into this compliance thing where Johnny, Susie, sit forward, sit straight, take this permission slip home to mom, etc. And then we get into high school and college and it's competition. Who's going to be the valedictorian? Who's going to be the MVP? Who's going to be the prom king, queen? Who's going to get the AP classes? Who's going to go to Ivy League schools as compared to someone going to community college? Well, my friend, that translates into the work world because people go into the work world with that same attitude and they put the blinders on and they want to be the executive VP. And they forget that there's all this life out here. So I tell people, what's your perfect day? And inevitably, all my coaching students, the first time they iterate that perfect day, they write down a very responsible day. They forgot how to dream.
That's what I find. Yeah.
People have forgotten.
Maybe it's just a little bit different, right?
Yeah. What's the dream day, man? I'll tell you my dream day because I was living it 2 days ago and I posted on LinkedIn. I said I was in Cyprus. I had like 4 or 5. I had 2 or 3 Quattro Capital calls relative to real estate because me and my partners were doing stuff for our investors to protect them. And then I had a coaching call for lifestyle design. Then I had a discovery call for someone who might want to do lifestyle design. Then I was doing my philanthropy project, which is this thing called Winds of Change, which has to deal with addressing the war in Cyprus of 1974. So I was sailing with those people that day. And then I got off, and then the next morning I went swimming at 6 a.m. in the Mediterranean Sea by myself. And I was like, damn, I just lived my perfect day again. Now, you're not going to have your perfect day every day. It's not possible. Sure. But you can have the framework for it. And that's why I get people to start with their perfect day. Because if you can work on those 5 freedoms, your goals on those 5 freedoms, get rid of your blockers, you can set up a framework by which you can live your perfect day whenever you want to. And that's kind of what I've created over time and help people do the same.
And it really is what people want. But like I said, that block to get there, something that you do so well, and it almost seems like you were born this way or you lived your whole life this way, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you have this approach of like, I don't really care what I'm supposed to do or what society says, like I'm going to like live the way I want to live. Are you laughing because I'm way off base or I'm right?
No, I'm laughing because you're spot on. I'm laughing because I think that's a combination of things, though, Angie. That's the street cop nature in me, being an A personality. That's the lieutenant colonel in me. But that's also the 23-year-old kid who was thinking about his 48-year-old future self, who had the wherewithal to start buying real estate and give me economic empowerment before, I don't know why my 23-year-old self did what he did. I have no idea. But what that has created over time, over 2 decades, 3 decades, is someone who's very unapologetic about how I live.
Yeah.
People are like people go to Walmart on the weekend and I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to run to Helsinki for 3 days. I'll be right back. Why? You can create stuff and then, the opinions of peers, coworkers, family, and neighbors are probably the number one thing that stops people from achieving their dream because they're worried about people's opinions. I don't care.
Yeah.
And I mean it softly, but I just don't care. I just go execute. Yeah.
And that's what I think is hard for people too, and what they need to hear, because I'm constantly trying to work with people on going, look, you are who you are. You're your authentic self, and you have to live that, and you have to trust that. And
that's right.
The more you let all the external noise come in and play, a role in what you want and how you do things, the further away you're getting from it. And I say it all the time. I'm like, I don't care. I don't mean that in a mean way, but to me, it's like, I have a very small circle that only very few people are allowed to have any influence of like how I'm showing up and what I'm doing, and if you've got a lot of people that you're sourcing that opinion from and taking in, like that's a warning sign for you. But people tend to think that that's mean, like, oh, you don't care what people think.
It's not mean. It is okay. I want to say this. And I think what I give my coaching students is an excuse to be different. It is okay to be selfish, to then be selfless. It is okay to be selfish, to then be selfless. Work on yourself. Extract yourself from circles that are not providing you any value. It doesn't mean that those people are bad. It just means that they're not conducive to your goals in that particular moment. I love my fraternity brothers, but I don't see them because they chill in DC and Virginia, and I tend to be in Cyprus and Lebanon a lot. But I check in on them, all the time. But it's funny now, like now that some of them or some of my old friends see the way that I live now they're super curious. Like, how do I do that? Well, the number one thing is don't follow people's opinions. Determine your own version of what success looks like and go after that. But I really want to encourage people with that statement. It's okay to be selfish, to then be selfless, because in my 20-year journey, which included a lot of what I call entrepreneurial depression, doing things on my own, I was building myself up to a point in life where I could truly give back to people now, financially and otherwise, right? So, I throw that out there for people to think about.
Yeah, I say it all the time. I believe it's truly selfish to show up for other people when you haven't shown up for yourself, because you're really showing up with a portion of you, and that's selfish. Why not show up with 100% of you? And we've got to flip that script instead of thinking about the other way around. You mentioned something about, not following the opinion of other people. If you don't follow the opinion of other people, well, then you got to follow the opinion of somebody, which is yourself, right? Like you have to have somebody leading you. And that's why people look externally, because they don't trust themselves, because they don't have this relationship with themselves where they're like, yeah, my opinion matters. I'm capable. I can do this. I imagine that you had to have a lot of self-trust in order to kind of navigate and block out other people's opinions.
Yeah. When I left the house at 18 in Boston and went down to University of Virginia to study mechanical engineering, play varsity football, and do Air Force ROTC, it was a lot. I called my mother. I never forget this. I called my mama summer between freshman and sophomore year. And I said, Mom, I don't have any money. And my mother said, well, I don't have any money either. You got to go figure that out. I never looked back from that day, and I just trusted my decision-making process and what I had to do for myself. I have been really good. I want to quote somebody that I just heard on a podcast interview by the name of Light Watkins. It really struck me what he said. He said, all the stuff I talked about with school, we used to be creative and all that type of stuff, and then you get the formal education. What the formal education does is defines what success means, and then that starts to suppress what Light Watkins called our heart voice, which is really just our intuition. I just kept following my intuition. So where your objective nature would say, how the hell would you be a corporate executive during the day and a street cop at night for 15 years at the same time? Objectively, it makes no sense. But subjectively, and my heart voice and my intuition was telling me, man, if you don't be a street cop for a certain period of time in your life, you're going to have regret later on down the road. So I just did it without even thinking about it. And I just found a way and found advocates to help me. You just follow your intuition. And then the other thing I would say is there was no Google and all that when I started my professional / investing journey. None of it. All I had was aisle 6 of the Fairfax County, Virginia Library in Alexandria, Virginia. I'll never forget it. I can see myself sitting there on Saturdays. There were 5 books that I have picked up over the last 20 years. I kept reading the exact same book over and over and over again. And my thought was, these may not be great, but if I can get really good at what they say, I'm going to get somewhere. So I just decided to put blinders on, have information diet mindset, and just execute what these books told me. And I trusted them. I trusted those 5 books. And because I did, I'm an expert on those 5 books. And I'm grateful that I did it. So, yeah, you follow your voice and you follow the information that resonates with you. And for some reason, I did good. But eventually, starting in 2015, I started hiring mentors and things of that nature to accelerate what I wanted out of life. And but, you do need some direction from someone sometimes.
But it was your voice. It was trusting yourself to hire those mentors, to show up at the library, to do all of that. And that's what I'm getting at, right? It's not like putting yourself in this silo and going, I don't need anybody, but it's about making sure you filter that through, what you're trusting, that intuition that led you to those people and those places. And now I'm also thinking, go ahead.
Well, one other thing I just want to say, it was a lot, Angie. It was a lot, like executive, lieutenant colonel, federal agent, police officer, club owner, restaurant owner. I look back on it and I'm like, dude, what were you doing? What were you thinking? Because most of that journey, I was solo. And what I tell people now is don't do that. Don't do that, because I didn't find my tribe early enough, right? I have people who I can associate now, someone like you, who you get it and you can provide me guidance and support and things of that nature. I didn't look for it. What I was like, nah, I can do everything on my own. And I don't think that's necessarily the right way to go about it. But for some reason, I went about it that way. And that's the one thing I would change, is finding like-minded people much, much earlier.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. I've literally been working on this point myself recently, trying to kind of unwind some of that, because I was wired the same way. And, you know, I think it comes from this place of, at a young age, having to be fully independent. And when you have to embrace that independence and know that, like, I can take care of myself, I can do these things, you know, whether it's because you didn't have the money, your parents didn't have the money, or whatever kind of family, you know, for me, I grew up in a volatile family. My mother was an alcoholic. So when you become that independent so young, it's hard to look for other people to lean on. And you just think, like, I can do it on my own. I always have, and I always will, and I'm not going to need anybody to lean on.
It's true, and true to form of what I said about neighbors, peers, coworkers, family. If I told people at Accenture, which was my global consulting firm, if I told people there that I was a midnight police officer, if I didn't show up at work one day, then somebody might be like, oh no, you know, he was probably patrolling last night and he's very tired and he doesn't know how to manage his life and all that. So I was just very, very quiet about what I was doing. But again, like, I was just following my intuition. And now what my intuition tells me is to speak out loud and to help people and to share about my journey, because I can find other like-minded people for the journey and people that I can help along the journey and pull up the ladder the way other people have pulled me up the ladder. It's been I'm reflecting. It's been a ride. It's been one hell of a ride.
It's fun to watch it, for sure. And I want people to watch, and I want people to learn and to be able to find and follow their own path. We were talking earlier about really providing people with framework instead of this very strict structure on how to do things. And I think you do that really, really well for people. And part of you answering, okay, well, how do you start to decide what you want your life to look like? I pulled out of what you told me, there was an empowerment piece in there. When you invested in real estate at such a young age, you kind of gained this leverage, probably from a mindset, not only financially, but from a mindset perspective of really being empowered. So for the people listening going, well, gosh, if I want a life like that, I've got to build this like passive income portfolio or I can never have it.
No.
What's your answer there?
No. That's don't listen to Instagram, and don't listen to me if you ever feel like I say you have to have real estate to have a lifestyle you don't need a vacation from. That's total bullshit. I think that adults, just like we were mobile as kids, I think adults need to be mobile to experience life more. And when I say mobile, I don't mean traveling around the world the way that I do. I mean, having the ability to get up, walk down the street, check out your neighbor, or go to the next city, or go to this conference, or go to this place, etc. One of the biggest things that COVID did for us, God rest people's soul who passed away during it, but there was one positive, which was people started to realize that life should be different than just sitting in an office and things of that nature. Nothing wrong with sitting in an office, but we can be virtual. And if you can organize your life around a virtual, let's say a virtual being, virtual sense, even if you're just staying home, be available for your kids. Or, as one of my coaching students right now, he has unplugged from a brick and mortar medical job in favor of a virtual medical support job, a little bit less money, but now him and his fiance have just been, quote unquote, practicing life in Portugal, and they feel so good about it. And the shift was removing the value of, I got to get this title at work, to leveraging that 9 to 5 to live the lifestyle that he wants. You can do that. Now, here's where assets and things like real estate come in. You can design a virtual life all you want and build a lifestyle around that, which I think is wonderful. The digital nomads had it right for years, in my opinion. But there's going to come a time in your life where you're either not going to want to do that work, physically can't do your work, or your job is going to be like, look, we don't need you. And that's where assets come in on the backside. So when I got off career highway at 46, nothing changed. I had income coming in from all this stuff. So I never want people to think like, oh, I got to go build X to have a lifestyle. No, I told you, I've been in 98 countries. I was traveling when I had nothing. I really didn't start to have real money until I was 41, right? So no, you don't need to do that. You need to get intentional about what you want, intentional about goals related to geographic, time freedom, financial freedom, whatever your purpose is. I didn't go be a police officer for money. I did it because it was purposeful. I felt free while I was doing it. So no, you don't have to go build some massive portfolio. In fact, I don't recommend it at all.
Wow.
I tell people, look, buy 4 or 5 pieces of real estate or 4 or 5 assets, or systematically invest in something. And once you have enough money to cover your basic needs, just protect that and you'll be fine. You don't have to have 2,000 pieces of real estate like me. It's crazy.
That's refreshing. I think everyone just took a big sigh of relief.
Yeah.
I can have this life without having to have 2,000 pieces of real estate. That's a lot of management.
For sure.
And that's what I want people to hear, because I love that you said don't listen to Instagram, because there are a lot of people who are really going, if you want what you want, you have to create this passive income lifestyle to do all of that, or you can't have it. And I think that's what gets people into trouble in the first place, is focusing everything around the money aspect. Tell people all the time, listen to what you're passionate about, that purpose, and then the money will come from that place. But when you try to work it the other way around, that's when you end up pigeonholing yourself, and you become tied to what that money is, and you actually lose all the freedom that you want.
Money for me has become a byproduct of living life. I don't chase money. When we chase money, it runs. In fact, the largest mistakes I ever made in real estate was because I was chasing a status, like trying to chase penthouses in DC or something like that. What I'm doing in Cyprus now is like a really good example. My family's a Haitian immigrant family. My dad didn't have shoes growing up. We didn't have anything. In fact, I asked my father, do you want me to go back to Haiti? He's like, no. I got out of there because I wanted you to have a different life. I want you to create a new legacy for our family. What are you going to do? Well, I fell in love with the Mediterranean when I was a federal agent in charge of a field office in Turkey in 2015. I said I was going to work there one day. I didn't know how, when. In 2020, I was having a conversation with a friend. My reticular activating system on my brain went off when she said, hey, the husband of someone we graduated from college with is a real estate developer on the island of Cyprus. My brain went nuts. I got on the phone with this person immediately. When I see an opportunity, I do not wait. I pick up the phone. I introduce myself to him. I was like, with it, what's in it for this guy? How can I help this guy help me achieve what my dad said, which was create a legacy? I'm going to be the first Philogene to own property on a Mediterranean island, not for the sake of money, but because I want my kids to own something there and start a new dynamic for our family. That was it. When the airports opened post-COVID, 3 days after the airports opened, I was on a plane to Cyprus.
Wow.
That was late 2020. We are now in 2023, and I'm on my 3rd development project with that guy. He's like my best friend now. Now, we're building, one project is 12 villas. I'm keeping one for my family. And then the other project is like a apartment complex thing, whatever. It's not a ton of money. Oh, you have money, you can do it. No, you don't know how development works. But I won't get into all that. It's not money. I wanted to be the dude, the American dude who wasn't just coming there, sitting in the restaurant, eating the food and leaving. I wanted to be a significant part of the community and do something and be known for being a good business person and start to give back. And I've done a lot of philanthropy working there. But the bottom line is this. I'm making money out of a consequence of chasing a legacy for my family because my dad created the first level of it and I want to create the second level. I'm going to make money, but that was not even the purpose of what I was doing. I think people chase the wrong thing sometimes.
Absolutely. And that, I hope everyone heard, that is the why. When you really find your why, it propels everything. It really does. And I was having a conversation on IG Live this morning about that. Like, people don't get to the core of like, why are you doing this? What is the passion? And if it's money, I'm telling you, money may be a byproduct of it, but it can't be the primary driver. And, you kind of just showed that to everybody. You said something though that I've been talking so much about that we got to highlight, the reticular activating system. And I tell people this all the time, like, you have to be willing to say what you want, to speak these things and to put them out there. When you originally said that you would have a place in the Mediterranean and that you would be doing something, I want people to understand you didn't need to know exactly how it was going to happen. That is okay. You don't have to have a plan for everything when it comes into your mind that you want something.
Yes. I will also give people one more quote unquote secret. It's not really a secret, but something that I've really come to understand. I'm not the best real estate developer. I was not the best corporate executive. I definitely wasn't the best restaurateur at all. What I was very good at was recognizing people. I was very good at recognizing that I did not need to understand the what as much as I needed to find the who. Mm-hmm. I'm just very good at finding who's and giving to them and supporting them. You don't have to know it all. You don't have to be the person who figures it out from A to Z. Find the person who's already figured that out and jump on the bandwagon and add a significant amount of value. I don't know how to develop real estate. I have zero clue. I am an apprentice in the sphere of my business partner / brother. He's teaching me. But I'm backing him. You know what? This is a good one, real quick. Do you know why me and that guy get along? So his name's Aunt. The reason why we get along so much, because he was born on the island and his wife is from Virginia here. So he has a bi-country lifestyle the way that I do, bi-continental lifestyle the way that I do. Nobody understands him. And he was like, man, I just need a friend who understands my lifestyle. So I serve a purpose for him in his life because we are the same in that we get on a plane every 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We run out to the Med. We do this. He has 3 kids. One is 18, one is 17, and one is 3. She's Vivi. She's 3. All same mom. Like he had a kid very late. And he knows that I want to have a kid now, which I'm speaking into existence because I've never had a daughter.
Yes.
Right? So we support each other in that way. So it's just, I don't know, find the who. Find the person who's already done the thing that you want to do and connect with them.
That's huge. And people are constantly looking for that. I feel like that's one of the number one things. If you're not connected to people in the way that you are, and you're this high achiever and you want this life that, you're living maybe that life, but you're like, I don't feel a part of anybody else's because nobody else is like me. There's a lot of people that just doing, the society thing, and finding those people to connect with goes a really, really long way. You have been amazing. Maurice, your heart, your soul, all of it. I can't speak enough about you. And I want people to follow you so that they too can understand how to try life on, because you really do an amazing example of showing and helping people do that. I always ask people, since we're here sharing wisdom, what is the most valuable piece of wisdom that you've ever been given that you kind of carry with you all?
It wasn't given. I learned it on the way, and that is to just do and course correct along the way. Successful people, and that's not relative to money, it's just relative to what people want out of life. They tend to just get just enough information to make a leap of faith, and then they jump and they just figure it out. I think too many people have analysis by paralysis. They're trying to get all the information and they find themselves 3 years later haven't done anything. I'm very good at like, all right, well, let's start a podcast. I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know. Let me go be a real estate developer in the Mediterranean. I have no idea. Let me be a street cop and exec at the same time. I have no idea. I didn't have any idea. But what I got really good at was just doing and course correcting along the way. And it is the number one piece of advice I give to people, because otherwise you're just sitting still. And if you don't take a risk, the biggest risk in life, a la Jim Rohn and Bob Proctor, the biggest risk in life is not taking one. And most times the reason people don't take a risk is because they're stuck. Just do it and just course correct along the way. You'll succeed in some, you'll fail in others, but hopefully you succeed in more than you fail in.
Absolutely. That perfectionism, that wanting to be perfect. And no, I've always had this weird, I've had more of a weird fear of not knowing what I'm good at over failing. So I try everything, because it's like, what's the worst that could happen? It's a fun approach to life. So thank you, my friends, so much for joining us. If people want to try life on, if they want you to design their life, what's the best way for them to be able to get in touch with you, find you, all that good stuff?
Yeah. So just the moniker itself, trylifeon.com. That's my coaching platform. There's a Try Life On podcast that introduces amazing people like Angie who are doing life their own way and how you've gotten there. I'm very active on LinkedIn, just Maurice Philogene. And I'm super active on Instagram purposefully to try and show people like, why are you doing the status quo stuff, man? Like, come out here and live life the way you want to. So it's just Maurice Philogene at Instagram. And then I pride myself on this. I'm very good at responding to people. So if you reach out, chances are I'm going to respond. I'm getting more and more nowadays, but I love spending time responding to people. So you can just reach out to me.
I love it. Thanks again for being here, Maurice. Safe travels on your next trip.
Yeah, tomorrow. Okay.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.